Hi, folks. Welcome to another episode of Film Study. This is Ken McCusick, and it's time for this week's matchup show. Right now, we're going to be talking about the defense, and joining us, as always, is co-host Frazier Tafar. Frazier, how you doing?
Doing good, Ken. Glad to be back after a well-needed bye week. These bye weeks seem like they do take a while, but glad to be back for Ravens football against a underwhelming Giants team, but a must-win at the end of the day for the Ravens.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is a game they cannot afford to fumble away, and let's start off on the defensive side. What do you got for us?
Yep. I have the Ravens linebacker platoon versus the middle of the field for the Giants. Seems like the past couple of weeks we've seen a lot more of Chris Board and also a little less of Trenton Simpson. I think we might continue to see that trend with maybe Harrison sprinkled in. Reason why we were seeing him is for Roquan's injury, but they might have liked his play, his physicality, so could continue to see him on first down and second down on given rundowns. But I'm interested to see what we do in terms of will we continue to see an uptrend in Board's snaps on third down. He has a lot of experience in the league, so that could bode well for his space understanding and coverage going against these tight ends over the middle of the field. We saw a little issue against the Chargers where we had Harrison and Simpson on the field, and they looked kind of lost in the middle. So continuing to build off that and see if the Ravens want to continue in the trend of Board over Simpson.
So weird situation for the Ravens. They've rarely been in this situation. They don't really have an option with safeties to fix this unless they wanted to start with Sunusi Kane. Actually, he's not available. Bo Braid right now at dimeback. So that'd be the Ravens' first choice if they had a real coverage issue in the middle of the field. They've actually played very well the last 3 weeks. And the interesting thing for me is that Simpson and Board have been alternating series as opposed to alternating specific types of snaps. Like that's something the Ravens have commonly done, is having a third down linebacker, even when they didn't have a dime, to come in and a player they thought was their best coverage linebacker. So they're not using that this way. I'm really expecting more of the same in terms of alternation between Board and Simpson by series. I think there's kind of a competition going on there. It may be a case where the coaching staff as a whole, perhaps beyond or, has gotten together and said, we need to resolve this. Or it may be a case where they've said, this competition is good. Let's keep it going. And I would think in coming up on a week when you're, a 10-day period coming after the game where they're going to have 2 more games, I would think they're really going to be incented to rotate their personnel. So I do think it'll be an important part. The Giants have a dink and dunk pass game, so you really want to make sure over the middle, pick and rub routes and a lot of the crap that the Steelers and the Chiefs can get you with aren't something that's beating you. But I would agree that I'm not sure that I agree that we'll see a big shift in the alignment. I do think Harrison will be exclusively an outside linebacker in this game. That'd be my prediction.
Yeah. Fair. I think the thing that is hindering Simpson, and the thing I've brought this up multiple times on the show, it's his split second hesitation on those handoffs or those fake tosses. Fake throws to the outside. Those split seconds in this league is just too much to give up. So I think they're trying to kind of settle him in. This competition, like you said, can do him well. He's one of those guys that likes to push himself to the limit. So it could bode well for the future going into the playoffs.
Right. Okay, very good. I'll move on. I'll do the Ravens interior defensive line versus the Giants interior offensive line. We don't know who we're going to get out of the Giants this week. They have 6 different offensive linemen who are listed as limited on the Thursday practice report, which is terrible. I've never seen a situation that bad. They have other guys who are already out on the other side of the ball, including Dexter Lawrence, which is an enormous loss for them, and a nemesis of Linderbaum in their first matchup. So really somebody that they can't afford to be without. But they also have 3 players in the middle who have played together more this season than their tackles are. The tackles include Evan Neal, who was drafted, I think this is his 3rd year in the league now, but he was part of, it was Neal and Cross and somebody else that I'm forgetting right now who were the big 3 in that draft in the first round. And Neal has not put it together yet for the Giants.
Was it the one Ravens that went to New Orleans, that tackle?
It wasn't Trevor Penning. Trevor Penning, I think, was the 4th guy in that draft. That guy He's had a lot of problems. Excuse me. But the Ravens should have all 5 of their defensive linemen healthy again. This is a game where you really want to see what's in the tank there for Pierce and for Jones, see how healthy he is again. Do what you have to do. I would say that they want to rotate to as much as they can in this game. They want to use aggression fairly moderately. And I'm talking about like deceptive elements in the pass rush in particular, because I think the first thing you want to do is contain DeVito and make sure that you force him to pass for the win. If he has to pass for the win and there's any sort of weather, any sort of problem going on, it will not go well for the New York Giants. And I think that's a good option for the Ravens is to try and contain him.
Yep, and like you said, DeVito's not going to light the world on fire. Or if he was, he would be starting over Daniel Jones. So I think I like what you suggested. I also want to see Odafe Oweh really turn it up because we're going to need him down the stretch to be that dominant pass rusher. Obviously, Kyle Van Noy came out hot in the beginning of the year. He's cooled off all the way. It seems like he's making these smart plays, the veteran plays, but the game-changing plays have definitely been limited this year. Looking to see our outside backers just continuing to turn up the heat in the pass rush. Hopefully Harrison giving them a spill, Robinson giving them a spill. He's turned up the pass rush heat as well. So trying to get these guys on the outside, continuing to increase their production and letting it, because Travis Jones and Matt Abike, they're going to do their thing in the middle anyway. We're going to need these guys on the outside to compress that pocket. So when the guys up front are getting these pushes, there's nowhere for the quarterback to go.
Well, they should really be back and ready for the pass rush to be driven from the inside. If they have both Pierce and Jones back, then one of those two guys will be on the field basically every play. So they're running pairings. It'll probably be Pierce and Urban or Pierce and Washington, and almost always be Jones and Madubuike. So that'll be that should be a very effective set of pairings, I would think, for the Ravens.
Do you think we'll elevate Wormley for this game?
No.
Okay.
I think they'll go with 5. They've shown a willingness to go with 4 in the past. I'm not even 100% sure they'll go with Pierce. They may decide, we can go one more week. I think that'd be a mistake.
Yeah.
I think they ought to get him back out there, see what he's got. I don't think they'll activate a 6. They've never shown a willingness to do that.
Fair. Moving on to my next point, I have the Ravens pass coverage when sending 5 or more versus the Giants pass offense. Obviously, the issue all year has really been the secondary. These past couple of weeks, they've definitely turned up their game with the addition of Tre'Davious White. It seems like he's been able to turn around and find the football, and that's kind of rubbed off on the rest of the team. Maybe not interceptions-wise, but they're not giving up the plays that they're used to doing. So continuing to build off that, and now I think the evolution in Zach Orr is being able to be aggressive and the players understanding where to be in their spots. An example of that was when we went all-out blitz against the Browns right after the drop pick by Hamilton. Jackson gets beat over the top on the touchdown when we're all-out blitz on a cover 0. Being able to be in the right positions on those plays, even though it's man-to-man, just not giving up leverage in those situations and having real in-tune understanding of what Zach Orr wants on these plays is going to be key because, like you mentioned, variance for the defense is his friend, and I think this game is going to bode well for high variance plays against the Giants. Okay.
That's interesting. One of my offensive points is just the opposite, but we'll get to that on the offense show. But they have really relied on the secondary a lot more. And I tell you, the key way in which they've relied the last 3 weeks on the coverage is that they have not done a lot of deceptive pass rushing, despite the fact that deceptive pass rushing, when they've used it, has been extremely effective.
Yep.
So they've been basically dropping 7 to coverage on a lot of plays, rushing 4, minimizing off-ball blitzes, minimizing simulated pressures, minimizing stunts. And they've done a pretty good job. They did a good job of containing Hurts. He didn't have a big game against them. They didn't have any plays over 20 yards in either of the last 2 games, I believe, which that's terrific in the NFL when you go consecutive games without allowing a 20-yard pass. Yep. And, of course, that's what really beat them, pretty much the whole season up to that point was a lot of long plays. I'll get to my last one, which is on a similar vein, is the Giants have one really effective weapon in the passing game. That's Malik Neighbors.
Yep.
He's the only real threat they have, and I want to see him taken away. And they have not been successful at that for most of the year. Chase has beaten them pretty badly. You go back to Brock Bowers and Devontae Adams in week 2 were the key to the Raiders upset.
Pickens to an extent.
Pickens, sure, was hit, but the Malik Neighbors has not put together a great statistical season. Other than his volume of targets, but he's had only 6.5 yards per target the whole year. So they've limited in per target effectiveness, but they've been giving up 11 targets a game to him. Yep. So gimmick defense is fine here if they want to throw Wiggins on top of him and give him safety help, which is something I've been asking for anyway against number ones. But I think in this particular game it would be a pretty good choice. Allow Wiggins the freedom to undercut the ball as he needs to. You could use Humphrey in this way too, but then give him the safety help. There are just not a lot of other targets that are particularly great for this New York Giants team that you have to be terribly worried about them. And the Giants, on the other hand, have to be very worried about the Ravens pass rush and getting the ball out quickly. So it should be relatively easier to take away Neighbors in a game like this, I would think.
Yeah, and if the Ravens offense is able to do their part and run the score up, I would love to see this good matchup with Neighbors versus Wiggins, 2 rookies, top of their game right now, and well, not top of their game, but top of the class. I really want to see Nate Wiggins has good recovery, but I want him to continue to be in phase of the receiver rather than recover on a move that's made on him at the top of the route. Against Neighbors, if he's able to do that, I think that could bode well for future matchups against these number 1 receivers, because we're only going to face good teams moving on forward from here. So I would love to see that matchup like you mentioned. And only other receiver they have is Hyatt, who's a big body receiver, but his hands are questionable. So they really don't have that many options. So to your point, Neighbors has to be the main focus.
All right. Always an outstanding show with you. Tell us where people can talk to you online, Frazier.
You guys can reach me at Twitter/X at F_Rave8. That's F_RAVE8.
All right. Thanks for listening, everybody. We always appreciate any word of mouth advertising for the show. Please do that, including showing somebody who's maybe a little older, doesn't use podcasts, how to play it directly off their computer. For Frazier Tabar, this is Ken McKusick. We'll talk to you next time on Matchups.